Hello and welcome back to an introduction to composition. In this video I'm going to use MuseScore to go all the way through our composing process, right from the initial thoughts about genre through to designing structure, building harmony and then composing a melody. Let's get started. So before I started composing, I wanted to go and listen to a couple of modern piano pieces to get an idea for some of the key features. So I listened to Ludovico Einaudi, a piece called La Onde. I listened to Niels Fram with a piece called You, and then I listened to Olafur Arnalds with a piece called Saman. And they're all piano pieces composed within the last few years, and I just wanted to use them to get a bit of an idea as to some musical features that I might want to put in my piece. And as I go through today, I'm going to show you all of the techniques used in the earlier videos and how you can put them into a composition and how you can use MuseScore as well. Let's get started. We're going to load MuseScore to begin with. Now this is the first time I've used MuseScore, so we're going to create a new score. The title for this is a sunny day outside, so I'm just going to call it Sunny Day. Subtitling I'm going to call Introduction to Composition. I'm going to leave the rest blank for now. Now I've decided to write for a piano today, and that's where I did my research on my different pieces, so I'm going to start with a piano. Key signature, so we're writing in C major, so you want the one that's pre-selected, which is no key signature. Now tempo, if you know what tempo you might want to work in, then you can put a tempo in here. If you're not sure, then you can just leave that blank. So I know that I want to start composing at about 112 BPM, so I'm going to put that in there. You can always change that later. So time signature, we're going to stay in 4/4. That just means we're going to have 4 beats in every bar. We don't need to worry about anacrusis. And for the number of bars, well, I've decided that my structure is going to be A, B, A, and each section will be 16 bars, and therefore I'm going to have 48 bars of music, and then probably one on the end where I have a final chord. So I'm just going to start with 49. Again, you can put in extra bars later if you want to. So now that I've got my main piece loaded, what I want to do is I want to start exploring harmony, because I've already decided I want a piano piece for genre, a sort of modern piano classical piece. And then in structure, I've decided I want it to be A, B, A. So I'm now working on harmony. And if you remember, in harmony, what we want to do is get a chord sequence. So a set of chords that go in these bars, and then we're going to repeat it. And then we're going to write our second section. So to begin with, what you want to do is, if you want one chord per bar, you want to select this semibreve here. And then what that will allow you to do is to start putting notes into MuseScore. Now, I'm going to zoom this in a bit. If you've never looked at music notation before, then go and check out the video entitled Understanding Music Notation. For a really brief rundown, just a quick reminder, C is just below that main staff, and then we get D, E, F, G, A, B, and C. Just like I said in the original video, it extends up past that, and it extends down past that, so our bass clef, this C is the same as this C, and it goes C, B, A, G, F, E, D, and C. And actually, they are pretty much all the notes you're going to need as part of the video today. So let's make some chords. So I know that I want each chord to last for 4 beats. So I'm going to select the semibreve because I know that that lasts for 4 beats. I've decided I want my first chord to be C. So I'm going to play a C into here. I actually want my next chord to be C as well. And then I've decided I want to go to F. And then let's have a little experiment. So I'm going to try D minor next. I'm going to play that. So I'm not overly happy with the D minor. So I'm going to move that up. Click and drag, there we go. I'm going to play a G instead. Let's try that. And one of the things I'm figuring out as I'm using MuseScore is that if you press P, it's not play, which I thought it was, it actually brings up this piano at the bottom. So that can be really useful for finding the right notes. I'm quite happy with C, C, F and G for now. And as I said in that original video, what you can do is then just duplicate all of those. So select them, copy them using Control C and paste using Control V. And if you're on a Mac, then use Alt C and then Alt V. So we could do that and that would give me an 8-bar sequence, but what I'd actually like to do is to change some of these chords. So I'm going to go A minor next, and then I think I'm going to come down to G, F. There we go, so that gives me 8 bars. Let's have a listen to that. Okay, so I'm quite happy with how that sequence is so far, and actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy those 8 bars, I'm going to paste them afterwards. So that now gives me 16 bars of my first A section. Now I'm finding that this is getting a little bit difficult to read, and actually what I'd like is to have 8 bars on each line. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, select that bar line and then just tap enter and it will spread it out for me, and then select the bar line after the next 8 and tap enter again. So this gives me the whole of my A section. So next what I'm going to do is label each of my sections. So I'm going to click in my first section, I'm going to go to text and then press where it says B1 and that will give me my A section. And then I'm going to come down here to bar 17, this is now my B section, press the same again. And that's now my B section. So I now need another series of chords, just like we said in that video about harmony. Now this time, instead of starting on C, I'm going to start on A minor. And then I'm going to fall to G. Then I'm going to fall to F. And then I'm going to go to C. And actually what I think I'm going to do is repeat that sequence again. Now this is the point where I've decided that actually the initial structure that I set out of going A, B, A and having them all as 16 bars doesn't feel like it's going to work quite so well for me at the moment. So I think what I'm going to do is leave my B section there and then repeat 8 bars of my A section. And you'll see there that I've labelled that A2. That's just because it's I'm thinking about that as my second A section. And then what I'm actually going to do is come back to my B section and repeat that. And then at the end, I'm going to go back to that A section again. Now what this means is we've got 1 bar left at the end, and I'm going to play a C major chord to finish. So I'm going to take my C chord and pop it in here. One really important thing, remember to hit save, something I should have done at the very start. So I've now got the whole of my harmony for my piece. So one of the things I like to do sometimes is actually add another stave above where I'm going to write my melody. This is because sometimes I just find it easier to see, and the easiest way I always have of doing that is just to add a flute and then to make sure the flute is above the piano and then hit OK. And this means I can write my melody up here and then eventually I'll bring that back down into my piano part. So I'm going to have a listen to the first 16 bars of this chord sequence. And what I'm thinking about now is I'm thinking about writing my melody and thinking about those 3 ways that we said that we could experiment with writing a melody. So one is audiation, hearing that in your head first. The second is improvisation, sort of playing around with different notes of the pentatonic scale. And the third is then choosing your start note and your end note and deciding, do you want to go up first or down first, and sort of designing that in a slightly different way. So I'm going to have a listen and see what I come up with. Okay, so I think I've got some ideas for my melody, so I'm going to take this crotchet note up here. I'm going to play what I think I want. Okay, so I'm quite happy with that as the first 4 bars. I'm going to copy and paste that. So that gives me the first 8 bars of my piece with a melody that spans 4 bars and then repeats. What I'm then going to do is I'm going to take the whole of my melody, copy and paste that to the next 8 bars, but actually this time I'm going to move the whole thing up by an octave. And you can do that really easily on a PC just by holding down Control and pressing up. So then this is the whole of those first 16 bars. And then up an octave. And actually I've decided to add a couple of things. So where we've got this A to G, and we've already heard sort of the same rhythm a couple of times, what I'm going to do is add in an extra note. And I'm going to do the same thing at this A. And what I'm just going to do is have a listen again to that second line to see if there's any other notes I want to add. Remember to look at the end of the melody video to do with development if you're thinking about some of these techniques. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a little rundown between the G and the E. And those of you that are paying attention will know that that F wasn't in my original pentatonic scale, but I've decided to add it because it should make a really nice rundown to the E. So let's have a listen to that. Okay, so what I'm now going to do is going to develop this little melody here. So I'm just going to have a listen to that melody from here. So I've now got both the melody and the harmony for the whole of those first 16 bars, but it doesn't sound very interesting at the moment. So what I'm now going to do is just spend a bit of time developing that, exploring how I can move some of these chords into the bass part, how I can come up with a really interesting piano part for this. So I'm just going to explore that and kind of run this in super fast time. Okay, so what I've now done for that A section is I've taken those chords that I had up here originally. So here I had C, E, G, and I've moved some of the notes down into the bass part. So I've now got C, G, C, G. So I'm still outlining that main chord. And then what I've done is I've added an extra note D here, back to G, so that's still part of C, and E here. So this is where we get the E. And it just gives us this really nice sort of bass pattern that sounds like this. So you get that what we call quaver movement, so it's going up and then back down again. And this is something I heard in some of the pieces I listened to this morning when I was trying to pick up some ideas for this piece. So here's how the A section currently sounds. So I'm now at the B section, and I want to do something slightly different here. Firstly, I'm going to arrange this so that I've got 4 bars on each line. What I want now is the piece to feel like it's slower. It's not actually going to be slower, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these chords, put them into the left hand of the piano part, move them down by an octave. And actually what I'm just going to do here is experiment with inversions. So an inversion is where we have the same notes, so A, C and E, but not necessarily in that order. So we then get this falling bass line. So now I need to compose the melody for the B section. So again, I'm going to go off, I'm going to use my piano, I'm going to experiment with different notes, see what I can hear in my head, and then I'm going to try and notate that into MuseScore. So here's the melody I've got for the start of the B section. And what I'd like to do now is I'd like to take a very similar rhythm, but actually change some of the notes for this second part of the B section. So what I've done in the second part of the B section is take a very similar rhythm. So the first bit is the same here. This bit is very similar. I've just turned this into 2 quavers. And then here I've added a harmony part. So the main melody goes C, D, E, and the harmony part goes G, F, E. Let's have a listen to that second half. So what I've decided to do now is I'm going to take that A section, the first 8 bars, and I'm going to copy both the right hand and the left hand piano part. I'm then going to copy my B section. Finally, I'm going to copy that A section one more time. So looking at our piece, we've now got the A section on the first page. That continues on to the second page. We've got our B section here. Then our A section starts again, runs all the way to the start of B2. Our A section runs again, all the way to the end. Now what you'll notice is at the moment I've just copied and pasted the same music over and over again, and that's a little bit dull. So what I'm going to work on now is making changes to both the melody and the harmony part, just to make this piece a little bit more interesting. So one of the things I've done straight away is actually take out some of the notes from that left-hand piano part. I was just really thinking that actually there's too much going on at the start of the piece. So you'll now hear that it starts off with just 3 notes in the left hand, and then it builds into this sort of slightly more active left-hand bass part. Let's try the B section. So I've now got the whole of my composition. I've got my A section into my B section, and then my next A section into my second B section, and then into my third A section. So what are the differences? Well, in the first A section, I've got a very basic left hand to begin with, and then that builds up in the second part of the A section. And when the A section comes back, that active left hand quavers just goes all the way through that second A section. In the B section, on the first time we hear the B section, in the left hand we've just got chords, so it just plays 1 chord and lasts for 4 beats. And in the second section we've got this rhythm that goes. So I just tried to make that a little bit more interesting, but I kept the melody the same throughout the whole of that second B section. The only other little change I made is down here, in which I had a C major chord, so I've got C, E and G, and that plays, and then at the end it goes to G, B, D. So this is in the harmony video where I was talking about changing the harmonic rhythm. Instead of having C for all 4 beats of this, it's got C for 3 of those beats, and then G in that final beat. In the final A section over here, what I've done is I've moved both the bass and the melody up by an octave. I've changed the tempo as well, and I've made it so that I've got a C major chord right at the very end. And that really gives me my first composition. So let's have a listen all the way through. Thank you for watching this Introduction to Composition series. I do hope you found it really useful and managed to put some of the ideas into your own composing process. If you've got any questions or comments, then leave them in the comments section below. And if you'd like to see any other videos as part of this series, then do let me know. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you see when new videos come out, and I'll see you next time.